Hey, Barb.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Week That Was. I'm Saeed Khan, and happy May to all of you. I think we may have actually turned a corner on the weather, so let's see what goes on as we go forward. But it's Michigan, so I get it, Barb. We could simply regress back into tundra-esque weather at any moment. Well, going for our roundup of this week, we are joined with attorneys Joel Sklar and Bill Seikaly, labor and community activist Barb Ingalls, veteran journalist Nancy Derringer, and of course, founder of Deadline Detroit, Allan Lengel. Well, we have also marked not only the advent of a new month, but the first 100 days of this new Trump administration. And in fact, to hat tip to Michigan, the president, in fact, decided to observe said centennial days here in Warren, Michigan. And I think, Allan, we've got a video.
Yeah, let me get to, I'm trying to remember which one is actually for. Let's try.
He is so convinced by is this clearly doctored photo in which someone, possibly Trump is just unfazed by. He took his reality show back on the road last night for 100 Days of Me pep rally in Warren, Michigan. Time for the main event. Scammy Davis Jr. took the stage for a 90-minute victory lap, during which he played all the hits, including a shout out to one of his favorite of all the races, Black.
There's my friend, Blacks for Trump. I like that guy. He follows me.
And the whole 100-day thing started back in 1933, right? When FDR's extraordinary productivity set a first 100-day standard against which all future presidents would be measured. And I think it's appropriate to compare him to FDR because Trump is well on his way to bringing back polio.
So was he pointing at John James when he was saying that's the...
Did John James even show up at that? I wrenched my back and couldn't go to the demo, which made me very sad because it looked like a lot of fun. But I don't know. I mean, does John James even actually exist?
Apparently,
he's an AI creation. They just gave it a helicopter, an American flag, and a big bright smile, and it put out John James. So there you go.
Or maybe he was in that space capsule that never actually launched, according to the conspiracy theory. But apparently at the rally,
he was at a Selfridge Air Force Base when Trump met with Whitmer.
Well, there was. So speaking of Selfridge Air Force Base, the president touted that he was going to be sending F-15XEs to be deployed to Selfridge Air Force Base. And I looked up the aircraft, and I mean they're pretty advanced fighters, and I'm wondering, unless he's really planning on being threatened by Canada, what would be the purpose of a advanced fighter jet being deployed in a place like Selfridge Air Force Base?
To threaten Canada.
Is it really that? Okay, all right. So I guess
I really have no idea. I mean,
Occam's razor then proves true yet again, Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, we dropped one off of a aircraft carrier this week, so I don't really.
We may not have actually. Now there's reports that the plane actually, if you go outside American media, was shot down by the Houthis.
Oh,
and
really?
So this was a cover-up. So there's more than one story to this.
We should, for those people who have not heard, there was a story earlier this week that a fighter jet fell off an aircraft carrier, and the story was that the carrier had been put into a fairly quick turn while they were tractoring the plane to wherever it was going, And as anybody who's been in a car that makes a fast turn, you kind of go to the outside like this. And evidently it was.
Yay.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by former Fox 2 news anchor, Huel Perkins. Huel, you've got to tell me, were you delayed because you are now going to be the voice at Metro Airport saying the red zone is for immediate loading and unloading? Because I want that.
You know what? I think you can fill that role adequately, but no, I thought it was noon. I've been traveling. I've been away for a while, and I thought noon was the time. Got the wrong time. I texted you, Alan. I said, what time should I log in? You didn't respond.
Look at your text. It says 11:20.
Exactly.
I just texted you. I texted you earlier, and I said 11:20. So.
Okay. Well,
the easier explanation, Huel, is if you just would have said that you're in Central Time, and that would have just solved everything.
I'm still basking in the glow. I was at the Masters Golf Tournament a few weeks ago, so I'm still basking in that glow.
Okay.
I'm having a great time.
Well, to provide you with the antithesis of basking in any kind of glow, what's your take on the first 100 days of the president's term?
I think it is horrible. It is the worst man-made disaster in the last century. It is.
Wait a minute. You that means you haven't seen Ishtar.
No, I have.
Okay.
I have. It's even lower than that. But you know what? But sadly, despite this self-inflicted wound that he has done to himself and to this country, look, he would still win the election if it were held today. That's the frightening thing. That is what scares me most of all. Despite his ineptitude, despite his
he would win the Electoral College.
He would, and that's the problem with America. He would win the Electoral College, and he would still be.
Yeah, I don't think he would win. I don't think he would win the popular vote. I don't think he would win the popular vote.
He'd still be president. He would still be president.
He'll be president. Right.
You realize there's still people supporting him today, despite the economy, despite the.
There are stupid people everywhere, Huel.
No, but we need
the plug on PBS. Threatening Harvard, it's ridiculous. But
we need to get beyond the.
I've said before, and I say it again. He is a reflection of who we are as a nation. This is what most Americans believe. Yeah, go get him, Donald.
No, most Americans don't. I don't think most Americans do, and I think every day it gets a little bit different. I think that every day people find out that the leopards are indeed eating their face, and I think that that's different. And how we deal with that is what we have to figure out right now.
I hope you're right.
That's our job. Not our job, but everyone's job.
Well, this program is one of the few examples of the truth. You are the prophets, making your pronouncements in the wilderness. Who's listening? That's the problem.
My sister's listening right now, just so you know.
Well, Huel, I think
maybe two sisters.
On this show, we're too old to be post-truth, so we're still in that truth area. So I think that's what makes it work. Joel, what do you think? I mean, I'm sure you heard the rhetoric that was coming out of Warren, Michigan.
No, I think it's Trump being Trump. Continue to lie, continue to create a myth that doesn't exist. Yep. There's going to come a point in time where that myth is going to bump up against reality. Reality will win because that's reality. And that's where we're going. Trump to say that gas prices are down to $1.98, exactly where would that be? Or that the price of eggs have fallen. There's Stephen Miller repeating those awful things. This is where we are. This is a pro-truth society. Trump is in control. The world is flowing around all over the place, around him, around the world, and still he has people that think he is God. And it's this deity, deification. Nancy, better than I do.
Yes, right.
Of Donald Trump is terrifying, and that's why this constitutional republic we have is so tenuous and so fragile, because we have a king who has no respect for the Constitution.
Joel, deification and defecation are only one letter apart.
My dad was a gastroenterologist. It was always a conversation. Stool samples was big.
But how ironic that he's touting the return of manufacturing to the U.S. and Michigan in a city, Warren, where the Stellantis plant is actually going to close down and is going to relocate to Mexico. So talking points aren't there. But hey, Alan, you've got a video of him not making us believe our lying eyes.
Yes.
He is so convinced by is this clearly doctored photo in which someone, possibly a 5-year-old, put MS-13 on his knuckles. Now, to everyone else, this looks like it was created in Microsoft Paint on a Tandy 1000, but to Donald Trump, this is irrefutable evidence.
He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop. So let me
That was Photoshop, Terry. You can't do that.
He,
Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
There's one other little part to
Of
this.
the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
Look at Terry Moran's face. He looks like a teacher about to call the school psychologist.
You know, it actually makes me appreciate Miss Teen South Carolina's responses in that one beauty pageant as being far more erudite than
And nuanced.
and nuanced. Yeah. Well, apparently, the great experiment of making America great again seems to be having an impact on making Canada freaking amazing again, where the elections just and I don't know what the
Canada, yes.
Okay, I stand corrected, Huel. We don't need you at the airport. We need you front and center at sporting events. But here we have a resurrection of the Liberal Party with Mark Carney coming in. The Conservative Party was so legitimized because it was seen as Trump-like that what's his name there?
I'm from Louisiana. It's pronounced in the American. It's pronounced Pierre Poilievre, but in French it's Pierre Poilievre. You have a on the end.
Pepe Le Pew, whatever. It's
No, Huel, I'm clearly a beret and a baguette short of where you are. So, but I mean, here we find that there was this resurrection of the incumbent party. But look at what has happened. The Conservative Party, the opposition leader, didn't even win his seat back. And similarly, on the other side, on the progressive side, we have Jagmeet Singh of the NDP. Also not winning his seat, and the party was crushed to the point where it's no longer actually officially a party in Parliament anymore because they dropped below 12 seats. What do we learn from this in the United States going forward? And particularly, Barb, I want to ask you, is there some lesson to be learned about the progressive wing of the political left? If in Canada it gets decimated, what does that bode for the progressive wing moving forward in America?
You know,
have I been listening to CKLW too much lately?
You've been listening. You should have been listening to the CBC News. It's really interesting because their liberals are not as liberal and their progressives are not as progressive. I mean, all of these things mean a little bit different. But I think that almost every Canadian was just completely outraged at the idea that they were just going to be swept up and be Americans by this big orange buffoon, you know, and so they turned to the party that they didn't love, but they didn't hate, and completely swept everything. And I think no one was more surprised than Carney, because they were sure they were down so far. There was going to be a complete change in the government. So I think, you know, Canada, the western part of Canada is very, very, it's a lot like the United States. They're very conservative. They want their oil. They want their ranch land. They don't care. They, you know, and so they, but again, it just, everything that they felt was completely swept aside by how they felt about Donald Trump.
Yes.
And I think the whole world is feeling the same way.
I think
Yeah, I find I find all of this to be very interesting. There's a great piece in the New Yorker this week about what did the Canadians see that America's missing. And I recommend the article. I think that the Canadians see Donald Trump for who Donald Trump is, and we're not. But I want to go back. I thought that was a great question that you asked, Saeed, about the liberals and what does it say about the progressive wing of our party. And I want to get away from this notion that that we're such a monolithic country that has such a monolithic approach to politics. The fact of the matter is that let's look just at Michigan politics right now. Alyssa Slotkin got elected, and people said she got elected because she's a moderate, and that's great. I'm not so sure who the better candidate this cycle is going to be. So you have an Alyssa Slotkin wannabe lookalike running, and you have a more progressive woman in Mallory Morrow. I'm not so sure who would get elected this time.
Who's the first person that you were referring to?
Haley Stevens.
Oh, Haley. Okay.
She's portraying herself in that way.
Yeah, I know.
I have a hard time being serious about her. So
yeah,
say her name. I don't want to badmouth a Democrat.
It's okay. It's fine.
But
that's why you have.
The fact of the matter is that what wins in one election and what wins in one place may not win in another election at a different time with different issues. And we've got to get away from what is the one answer that all Democrats have to act like. The fact of the matter is we need progressives. We need extremists. We need more moderates and conservatives. We need people who can win seats in Congress if we're going to stop Trump. And there's no one type of candidate that's going to do that across the country.
And I think there's also just a quibble. I think there's also an apples to oranges problem with comparing our progressives to Canadian progressives, because Canadian progressives have already won the battles that our progressives can't seem to win, which is, universal health care, a stouter safety net, a more humane immigration policy, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not.
I think Barb's right there. Our progressives, or the Canadian progressives, aren't as progressive as ours, but their conservatives aren't nearly as whacked as ours.
They all cluster more around the middle.
Read a little bit more about Alberta and Saskatchewan politics. Those guys have a lot of money.
Barb, I'm not saying that there are none. Nobody's going after universal health care in Canada. No. Nobody's trying to destroy.
Just American interests are in there lobbying right now. But even Pierre, what's his name? One of his programs was
the name. Pierre.
Yeah, Polyev.
You should see me in Paris. I am a good time. Actually, Barb in Paris, you're a good time means exactly the same as it means in America. Let me rephrase that. Anyway, Pierre's one of his platforms was to strengthen the dental care that goes with the universal health care in Canada. So yeah, that's very much not like American conservatives.
Alan.
I just want to bring up something, and this is a little shameless, but when you mentioned CKLW, I used to do an imitation of that, going, the men in blue knew what to do. They rushed to 2585 West 8 Mile in Detroit. When you hear news in the making, call 254 CKLW in Windsor, 961 NEWS in Detroit.
Did any of you ever call that number from a phone booth?
The murder meter clicked over another notch today as the battered body of a buxom blonde bounced once. Yeah, right.
In 10th grade, there was a race riot at Oak Park High, and the place was just going fucking crazy. People were running through the halls, and windows were being smashed. And I found, in the newsman in me, 10th grade, I got the payphone. Hello, CKLW.
That is great.
Wow. And they were like, we've already got it.
Hey, Alan, was this
$25 reward?
Alan, was this when it was the Ashkenazi versus the Sephardic, Jets versus Sharks?
That could be brutal.
That was the best radio station on earth. I'm just going to say right now.
It really was.
That I see now where Thomas Hayden's church got his inspiration in Sideways for his audio stuff. So well done, you. But we've got elections coming up now in Australia, and it looks like the Conservatives there are certainly going to take a hit in the same way that they did in Canada. There was a really interesting by-election in the UK yesterday where the Reform Party, which is even further right of center than the Conservatives, did pick up some seats. So it looks like there's some kind of movement in some of our closest allies. And it was interesting to hear Trump actually try to take credit for it, to say that the guy who hated Trump the least won in Canada. And I can work with him. I think he really had a problem with Justin Trudeau because Melania couldn't take her eyes and her hands off Justin Trudeau, so I think he's less threatened by a Rhodes Scholar in Prime Minister Carney. But what about this idea that China came right out and said, "Yeah, we're willing to strengthen our ties with Canada now that trade with the United States seems so perilous"?
Yeah, the nature pours a vacuum. I mean, China's going to fill it. And China should fill it. They're the economic superpower. We are, we have designated ourselves as a secondary player. We're removing ourselves from the markets. We're becoming isolationists. This is insane. Historically, it has no fundamental basis that we're going to advance ourselves in any way. It's kind of a prelude to more tension and theoretically war. And that's what economic wars end up being, is real wars. Right. So, this is again, it's just where we are.
Yeah.
Well, the good news
around talking about how chaotic we are.
I just want to add
the good news. The good news, Joel, is that China makes most of the vacuum cleaners in the world now. So that's why there'll never be.
But again, it's an invitation. It's insane to me. I mean, Trump has invited this. He's inviting China to take over the world economy. Today he said he won't do business with countries that take oil from Russia. God knows how many countries that would be. I believe that would also probably be China. What's going on here is not logical. It's visceral and it's words. Yeah.
Bill, did you read that article about how the port of Seattle and the port of Los Angeles are decimated right now? I mean, they're like ghost towns because the reckoning is coming. I think May 10th is the date that the spigot is going to basically be the last freighter coming in from China and the last one going out. Go ahead, Bill.
I just wanted to piggyback on something Joel said. I still think that the United States is an economic power. I think that the reason that we're falling isn't because we don't have the economic power. We do. We're untrustworthy. And who wants to deal with anybody who is untrustworthy? We can't be trusted to stand by any agreement we make. We can't be trusted to do anything within political norms. So, we're going to remain an economic power for some period of time. But the fact of the matter is that even if we are, countries aren't going to make deals with us because we can't be trusted. I mean, can you imagine being a country right now negotiating a trade deal with Trump?
That's why the markets have been a roller coaster, because everybody knows that one day he might get up on the wrong side of the bed and say, this guy doesn't know how to craft legislation. He doesn't know how to negotiate with, the other party. All he knows how to do is sign his name with a big fucking Sharpie and then hold it up like he's showing it to mommy. I was a big boy today. I signed my name. And that's,
Nancy, you're right. You're absolutely right. But we started off with the 100-day analysis,
right,
and comparing it to FDR. The difference between FDR and Trump, because they both really have changed the country, but the difference is FDR did it the old-fashioned way, legally, with legislation.
Yeah.
He pushed through legislation that got everything done. Trump is clearly being a dictator by doing everything through executive order. I I'm
and
trying
they
to think
just
of
and when the courts say you can't
legislation
do
that's
that,
been
they just
passed in the
go,
last 100 days.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. So
Well,
this
the difference also is that FDR walked into a crisis. Trump has created a crisis.
Yeah, that's certainly
things
true.
were like, you can always do better. It could, the border was certainly a problem or whatever, but you could have made improvements. But he just fucking created a shit show. That's.
But you also have
and he's
complicity
literally
It was amazing
everything that FDR done and destroying it. Everything that FDR built, one by one.
You're right.
That's what Trump is taking down.
Yes.
Well,
That's right.
you also have complicity. I mean, with the legislative branch, House Speaker Mike Johnson announced that he will hold a vote to curb congressional oversight, not only on President Trump, but also on Elon Musk. So there are efforts now to take off even whatever guardrails the legislative branch might have.
Right. And, yesterday we had Croaky in that ridiculous cabinet meeting. These cabinet meetings, all they are is like photo ops for everybody to go around and tell the boss what a big man he is.
It's terrible. It's
well, then you could call him a circle jerk, but they're not, because it's everybody's jerking one guy. Okay. Croaky's talking about taking fluoride out of American drinking water. It's like we're going to end up exactly like the people in Kentucky who voted us this nightmare into office. Toothless and dying of measles and with chickenpox scars all over our faces. I mean, come on.
Popping out kids we can't take care of.
Yes, exactly. But we know our menstrual cycles. Did you know when you're able to get pregnant? Oh, thank you. I didn't know that.
Send in the troops.
Yeah.
And I thought that there was an app for everything. Well, okay. Now we've got somebody local who has decided that he really wants to go ahead and do something about that. And that is Congressman from Michigan 13, Shri Thanedar, who has decided that he's going to file articles of impeachment against President Trump. Thoughts on that? And by the way, I saw the billboard, so it must be true, along with the one that said that Brunson's a mother flopper. But that's a whole different story.
That's true.
I mean, who's Thanedar trying to impress this way? And by the way, it looks like he's going to have now some tangible competition in Michigan 13.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, in terms of running against Shri, if too many people put their hat in the ring, he's going to get reelected again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is the risk. They need to get together and decide who is going to run against him. And we as Democrats aren't very good at that. So
no, they're terrible at it. I mean, Adam Hollier thinks third time's going to be the charm, which I don't think it's going to be the charm. But
Adam Ollier, I just spoke with him a few days ago at the Barristers Ball. Look, I agree with you, Bill. Not that I love the old days of politics in the back rooms, but frankly, that's what the Democrats need to do this time around. Get in the back room, decide which candidate they're going to promote, and that's it. Don't have 3 or 4 people running in the same election to try to beat Shri. They will lose. He's got too much money. So I agree with you. I hope that, look, I've also been told that there is a left wing of the left wing in the Democratic Party, and some of the extremists on the left are pushing somebody other than Adam Ollier, and that's what's going on. But they have a voice too. So that's what's happening.
Who is that?
What's his name? The new guy who's running? It escapes me. Somebody can look this up. By the way, thank you for the comment, McKinney. Thank you. Faris Khan, no relation. Yes, this is a created crisis. In fact, the blame of Biden has extended to Trump blaming Biden for the dip in the first quarter GDP. Even though we may be heading for a reception. There you go. There's a Freudian slip. A reception.
Just in case there's one person watching this who still thinks that Trump is like the bee's knees here. Let's remember what he said last summer. Okay. What he said last summer when they say, well, the stock market's going great guns, and he go, that's because they're all waiting for me to come back, and this is my market. So it's like it was his market when it's doing well. When it's doing badly, oh, it's not my market anymore. It's like, give me a break.
I am absolutely amazed by Trump constantly pivoting toward blaming Biden for everything. But my favorite thing that I've read this week was a Borowitz report in which Andy Borowitz says that Trump is now blaming Biden for why his boys, especially Eric, are so stupid. Maybe. I mean, I think it may be where he ends up going.
But meanwhile, Trump the grifter is making tons of cash. Yeah. Now, many of you have played the stock market, and you know that you can make money on the rise and the fall of the market. So if I'm president and I know that my pronouncements, my executive orders can cause the stock market to fall, could I perhaps put in a bet on VIX so that I make billions of dollars when I announce the tariffs? I mean, I'm not saying that happened.
You dare accuse our president of such a thing?
Could people have known that? Could people in his family have known that? And by the way, didn't he say he was going to show us his tax returns? Has he ever shown us how much money he's worth?
Huel. I just have to say this. I know it's in radio, it's absolutely verboten to mention any other radio station. And maybe that's true in this case where we're not really radio. We're just YouTubing it. Anyway, the New York Times has a daily podcast that drops in the morning called The Daily. It's like 25 minutes of one story. And earlier this week, they did a piece on crypto, Trump and crypto. And that's the kind of thing that I just, would normally just put my hands over my ears and go, nah, because as soon as somebody explains what crypto is to me, I go, okay, I understand now. And then 20 minutes later, it's all flown out of my head. And I think just a lot of older people are like that because it's like, we don't really understand what the hell this stuff is. But if you listen to that piece and you realize, you talk about the stock market, Huel, he is stealing with both hands with crypto. And he's not even hiding it. I mean, it's like they're having a dinner, and they're literally selling access to the president with this dinner that they're having for the top, 25 or 200 or whatever holders of the Trump meme coin. And the interviewer, it's always a New York Times reporter describing their reporting, and then their interviewer is like, is this legal? Well, I don't know if this is legal, so it's the New York Times, so it's always very measured and everything. But I mean, I'm working out down there and I'm just like in my basement listening to this, and I'm just like, I got to pump some more iron because this is really driving me.
Well, Nancy, I mean, Don just formed a new club.
Here. He's a mob boss. He acts like a mob boss. All you got to do.
He's a criminal. It's so much easier to understand if you just think of him as a criminal.
Well, Nancy, Don apparently has formed a new club, which is, I think, $500,000 buy-in to have that kind of access. And there's this Pakistani American who's, I guess, involved in it. I've never been so ashamed of my former ethnicity. Anyway, Allan, let's go to commercial.
Alrighty. Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
So I bought something off Amazon the other day, and it actually had added to the sales tax, it had the tariff surcharge to it. Well, apparently the Trump administration has gone, or maybe Trump himself, has gone apoplectic over this. Oh my goodness, and there he appears.
Again, surprise.
We quoted him and we summoned him.
Yes, and Steve,
where have you
been? I think you dialed in because Bill just didn't channel you enough or adequately enough. So
a whiff of sulfur in the air,
I thought I was
late. He appears.
Anyway, I forgot about it. I was doing other things.
Okay.
What, golfing?
So you get annoyed when I call you and say, "Hey, you go. I'm coming on. I'm coming."
You should have called me, you knucklehead. I would have got on.
Well, what was the start of the book 1984? It was such and such date, and all the clocks, or I guess in your case, it would be flip phones turned to 11 o'clock.
I want you guys to see this is a grand new.
Ooh.
Phone.
Where the hell did you find a flip
I didn't know they
phone?
made those. They still make those?
Is it a burner?
I've only had it for a week. I got my old one when I took it over to Verizon for the guy to hook everything up. They opened it up, and he and the lady looked at it, and they said, that battery has not been right for probably 2 years. I said, oh, maybe that's why sometimes I couldn't hear.
So
brand new flip phone.
So Steve, did you get that at a
Wait,
Verizon?
did the old one go to the Smithsonian?
The old one went to the trash. No Smithsonian's. That you can't get it. If you can believe this, I go to Verizon store because that's where, and I say, I need a new flip phone. And they say, sir, you have to order it from Nokia. So I ordered it, took it up there, and I hooked it up to my car today. Very impressive for a poor boy from high school.
Are you sure you went to a Verizon store and not a Verizon landfill, Steve?
Same, and the kids in there, they look at me. It's almost, oh, here he comes. Oh shit.
Oh yeah.
You deal with them. No, you take them.
It's your turn.
So Steve, I guess when they see you coming, they probably say, okay, I guess we're gonna have to accept checks as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, that'll be the. No, you know what? I'll tell you what did happen, and I won't tell you where I went. I come in, they say, in order for them to do this, it costs $30. So the kid is, and he's all this thing, and so I reach in my pocket because I'm a poor boy from Mumford to give him. So I give him $10. He says, "Oh, you don't have to do that." I said, "No shit, I know I don't have to do it, but keep it." He says, "Okay, forget about the $30." Which tells you what does it tell you? And Huel Perkins and I have had this conversation 100 times when we go to dinner. He pulls out 14 credit cards, and I pull out 20s and 10s and 50s. And I tell him, just fucking pay cash. Life is a lot easier.
Steve, I paid the chips in cash. I paid the bill.
Only
the chips in cash.
Only because of me.
No, I did it all the time.
Oh, I don't think so.
I made sure the waiter, the waitress gets the cash.
Yes, that's exactly
I do the same thing, but I put it on my credit card, Steve, because I want the miles for when we go to Europe.
Yeah, me too.
You know what? Let's not get started because that's my wife's excuse for spending zillions on everything. Miles. I don't give a shit about miles. I'll pay a regular price for the ticket instead of the zillions that you spend in wherever you're going to.
No, if I'm spending it anyhow, Steve.
I'm sure
that's okay.
I'm not
Steve,
your wife. I'm not good looking enough to be your wife.
That's okay, Steve, because air miles and points only work on, jet engine planes. So, so what do you think about the fact that the White House contacts Jeff Bezos and Jeff Bezos capitulates and says, "All right, we're going to take the tariff charge off our website"? Yeah, Alan.
I think it's, obviously it's outrageous. You're doing something consumer friendly and they're looking at it as a hostile act that you're telling people what's going on. You're informing people, which is why he has no business owning the fucking Washington Post. He should sell that. It's a disgrace that he owns it,
It's not just consumer friendly. This is fraudulent. Look, if you hit a button saying, I'm going to pay $30 for this, and $60 gets put on your credit card, would anybody say that's not fraud?
Well, no, they tell you upfront, Bill, the total price. I went to Temu today just to check it out. Temu does the same thing. You select the product, you say you put it in your checkout box, then when you click, I want to buy it, suddenly the tabs come up. Oh, this is going to cost you double. Whatever you thought you were going to pay, it's going to go. But you are fully aware before you click that final button.
No, before you hit buy.
And it tells you exactly why.
Look, it's like people who try to advertise, and they do it all the time. People advertise price without putting the tax on.
Yep.
You're entitled to know what your ultimate. And we've passed legislation saying if there are going to be fees and surcharges, it's got to be included in the price.
I'm sorry, that's yesterday's idea. That's Elizabeth Warren's idea. We can't have that anymore. It's funny because tech pros and the associated manosphere that kind of revolves around them, these dudes who are obsessed with their masculinity, they're always throwing around terms like alpha and beta and cuck, cuckold, somebody's a cuck. And I'll tell you that that guy, he dumped a perfectly nice wife to take up with this human brat stall, and who wears lingerie to the visible lingerie to the inauguration of the American president. And now he is essentially, all Trump had to do was just go beep, bye, bo, bum, and he caves like a little bitch. That guy is the most beta cuck like in the brosphere, except for maybe what's his face, Mark Zuckerberg.
Nancy, the only acceptable jargon on this show is Yiddish. I didn't understand any of that. Steve.
My question with a guy like Bezos is, how much money do you have before you stop letting people bully you? I mean,
Amen.
Is it 50 billion, 30 billion? Most of us, at least of the fellows, went to public school. You grew up in the playground. Guys try to bully you. You had two choices. You can get bullied or you can put your hands up.
Yep.
And I just wonder, I mean, I agree with what Nancy said about the guy, but what's the limit? Do you have to have 50, 60 billion? I mean, I just, for the life of me, I don't understand.
And remember, Steve, he paid Melania something like $40 million for her documentary. I can't wait to see that thing.
That's a payoff. It's a payoff.
It is. It's absolutely
everything is a payoff with these people. Every single thing is for sale. Everything is negotiable. Everything is. But yeah, Bezos.
Well, we saw 60 Minutes.
Back in the day, Huel, if you could get an exclusive with Melania, what would you pay for it?
I wouldn't want to interview Melania. I don't care about Melania. I don't. She was not somebody I would want to interview. Sorry.
I love my husband.
Inconsequential. I don't want to interview Melania.
We could have her on Let It Rip. Think of the possibilities. We could have her on Let It Rip. Charlie Langton. I don't know. Oprah.
Who cares about fucking Christmas?
Fucking Christmas.
Then I put up the nude pictures of her and say, "Now tell us about this."
That's the least of my problems with Melania Trump.
What about this? Didn't the Republican Party criticize Michelle Obama for wearing a sleeveless dress, and here you are naked? What I don't like is double standard. The first lady could appear nude in some damn magazine, but if Michelle Obama wears a short sleeve dress, they call her a slut. That's what
she wasn't. I can't believe I'm in the position.
Standard in this country is ridiculous. Done.
It is a double standard in this country. And I can't believe I am sitting here and I'm about to defend Melania Trump's previous career before she became a professional person. But I mean, she did this and everybody saw it because people look at this shit. That's not the problem. That is not, Michelle Obama's arms are not the problem. Melania Trump's complete capitulation to Trump's everything is the problem. And I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. I think that Melania's nakedness is not the problem at all.
Sex workers have to show the goods.
She was right. That was good, but that was her currency. That's what she had. That's all she had.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I loved in 2016 when there was worry of foreign influence and all that, and Melania got up at the Republican National Convention and said, "Donald Trump is a great man," and they panned the audience and they were like, almost like, "Holy shit, she's a Ruski." They were like, "Oh my God, he's married to a foreigner."
You don't quite have the accent down right there.
That was followed
more moose and squirrel. Vera moose. She's got a roundness to her vowel.
I think that was immediately followed with the. I think it was followed by the PA system going, "Evening there, swim there."
Nancy, can you combine?
I was raised to believe your word is your bond.
Can you combine Melania with Susan Collins? Can you do it?
Well, I'm gonna have to workshop.
Oh, that is the ultimate. That's the ultimate vocal portmanteau.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Trump family, apparently it looks like a little bit of an own goal. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has ended, among other projects and programs, under the guise of getting rid of DEI, the Women Peace Security Program for being too woke. Without recognizing that this was a policy that not only was implemented during the first Trump administration, but was the pet project of first daughter Ivanka Trump Kushner. Do you think that we will see a resurrection of the Women Peace Security Program? Because she'll say, "Daddy."
We will not, because first of all, Ivanka has stated more than once that she's out of the game. She's out of the game. She wants to concentrate on her family. But the other thing is, Ivanka is only interested in those kinds of things if she can pose with them with a pen. Okay. Some of you who follow me on Facebook may have seen the collection I put together of Ivanka with pens, where she loves to use a pen as kind of like, I'm a thinking woman. So it's always like, or like this. So she's already gotten the pen shot out of this. I don't think she's going to bring it back.
That is a deep analysis. No, it's simply too profound for us to have time on the show in the remaining.
I should send the whole package of Ivanka pens. I started noticing it. She's always like standing there with a pen, and it's like her favorite prop to show. I have brains, Daddy. Look, I'm the smartest of all the kids. So,
Nancy, I don't
pretty
think
low bar.
Realize,
pretty low bar.
Yeah, I don't think even you realize what a pen drop moment that was, Nancy. So switching over though, I mean, I guess we could say that this show is subversive enough, more so now with Huel on. But the whole idea about that no one is safe and no one is immune, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt left open the possibility that along with a judge in Wisconsin being arrested for allegedly obstructing the work of ICE in trying to detain and then deport someone, that even a justice of the Supreme Court of the United States may not necessarily be immune from the arrest by the executive branch. Have we now entered a new dimension of constitutional crisis?
It's a Gestapo. I mean, what's the question here? I mean, obviously the stilting of speech, the stilting of conduct, the stilting of expression, all the things that the Trump administration is doing is a deconstruction of democracy. It's a deconstruction of the constitutional fundamentals that the country is based on. And these attacks of the judiciary saying that judges, how dare you make a decision that opposes me, is terrifying. That is the definition of an authoritarian government, is that you're dictating to the judiciary, either you do what I want or there's a threat that you're going to be incarcerated. What the hell is that?
Well, we also discovered this week, Joel, that the JD in JD Vance stands for Junkyard Dog, because he's the one who's been going out there and saying, I can't believe, who are these federal judges to go ahead and decide what the executive branch can do or not? Did no one watch Schoolhouse Rock at all?
And what's disturbing is that Trump has no concept of any of these ideas in the Constitution. He doesn't know what due process means. He doesn't understand why it's important. He has no.
No, he does. Joel,
it's a beautiful document.
He doesn't care. There's a difference.
I don't think he truly understands. He may not care, but I don't think he understands the concept of due process and why it's so essential to fairness and adjudication. I don't think he really understands that, because when he's questioned about it, he's mystified. And again, it's just a constant deconstruction of fundamental rights: First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Sixth Amendment. It's all getting deteriorated under Trump's watch because he wants to chip it away, and he's doing it successfully.
Fish.
I think she got a little bit over her skis there. I honestly don't think that. I know they're crazy there, but I'm not sure she really understood what she was saying. I think she's a fool, number one, and to say something like that. I mean, even what's the MAGA people's 25, 30%? Everybody else must have gone, what the fuck? What do you arrest the Supreme Court justice? I really do believe, but he never is going to say anything unless he can do something like he did with Walz, and move him to some other thing. But I don't think she knew what she was saying, honest to God. I watched it, on the computer, and I think she was just,
So when he was out in Warren, when Trump himself was out in Warren, he called these judges communist judges. I think that she's a true Magite, and she'll say anything. I think she's the worst thing that's ever happened to the White House, but she's spewing Trump's position. He calls them communist judges, and the Supreme Court better control them, because if they don't, then that's who they are.
The currency of this White House is loyalty, and
that's Ivanka.
See, pen. I told you guys a pen. Anyway, the currency is loyalty and how well you stand up for the boss. And she just did. It was knee jerk. So
well, the judge that's I think really drawn the ire of Vance and Trump right now is actually a Trump appointee, the one who said that the Alien Enemies Act cannot be applied in the current case. Well, I think that there are two individuals, and I was thinking about this case, Alan, when I looked up the story, that maybe these two individuals actually are quite prescient. They realize that this is going out there and raiding homes and detaining people and perhaps deporting people. Maybe what they realize is that they shouldn't be where somebody might find them. In Hamtramck, there are allegations of two city councilmen who may be living outside the city. Yes, Steve.
I just wanted to say one thing. I don't know about the other lawyers on the panel, including Mr. Perkins, who pretends he's not a lawyer.
I'm not. I never practiced.
Lawyer as we are.
Bill didn't have to practice. He knew it at the time. We have to practice to get it right.
So I went into TV. I went to, but anyway, go ahead.
I think that opinion, and I didn't read the entire opinion, but I sure read the summary. The fact that it was a Trump-appointed judge is one thing, but that guy really hit it on the head. What we've been saying on this show, the notion that the Alien Enemies Act applies in any way, shape, or form was ridiculous to begin with. And even though we had a little bit of pausing, this guy wrote an opinion that basically said, are you kidding me? You guys are nuts. So I think that was a very significant opinion.
Yep.
All right. So we have...
Another Nancy's bombarding
you guys. Could you guys take Nancy's control of the system away a little bit?
I don't have this. Lengel's putting this up. I'm just sending him.
And plus, Nancy, I thought Ivanka was out of her oral phase, but two Hamtramck city councilmen are alleged to not be living in the city, and later this month there may well be a vote to remove them. We have Mohit Mahmood, who allegedly doesn't live in Hamtramck but lives in Troy, and Abu Musa, who apparently also doesn't live in Hamtramck but lives in Warren. This seems to be quite scandalous. In fact, there were private detectives that were hired that even used GPS location to track cars, and even, I don't know if made them swallow an AirPod at the Shisha Cafe over there on Joseph Campo, find out their movement. So, Alan, what do you think's going on in Hamtramck?
That place is such a mess. I mean, they've got the mayor who is pending confirmation as the ambassador to Kuwait, I believe. Yes. And he's got some opposition. I assume he's gonna. I mean, opposition doesn't really matter much in the Trump world. So I think he'll get confirmed. But the Hamtramck is just. I mean, it's crazy. These guys are obviously living elsewhere. The detective, like you said, followed them, put GPS trackers on their cars, and the one guy says, this is insulting. This is a slander. But it's the old country stuff. I think that stuff goes on anywhere, but I think in Hamtramck it's
Hamtramck used to be like this little hippie commune of hipsters and Poles and black folks and recent immigrants, Ukrainians and all that. And now it's like
it's still kind of
it's the old country. I mean, if you go to the Middle East, I mean, whether it's even in the Middle Eastern countries, including Israel, where stuff's under the table and things are wink wink and nod nod and
Nancy, where's the last city you went to where you can go to a mosque that was once a bank?
That's a good question.
There you go.
And, yeah,
not that all that shit doesn't happen in America anyways.
Yeah,
but it's
Mike Duggan didn't move to Detroit until it looked like he was going to win, right?
Look, you know what? They say that, what's his name? The
president of the University of Michigan, Santa Ona.
They say that Dave Bing was living in Franklin most of the time when he was.
Right, right. Mike Rogers.
So it happens, But
yeah, see,
they got caught. They got busted.
No, I was just going to say that now that they're doing this investigation, I have it on good authority that they're going to go back 60 years and they're going to claim that my teammate Rudy Tomjanovich really never should have been able to play for Hamtramck High because he's Croatian. Maybe he was supposed to play.
I love Ira when he pops up with this cop info.
Fish, is that the reason why Kermit Washington popped him one? Because he knew?
I don't know. We didn't find that to
wasn't
be
that the case?
So let's move on from that.
Wasn't that Rudy T's jaw that like Kermit
His
Washington like rearranged his face?
He came back. He came back and made the All-Star team anyway. So
that's incredible.
Right. Well, I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to one of our loyal listeners, Faris. I guess now FanDuel Khan has asked you your over and under of the chances of the Dems retaking the House and or Senate in 2026. Huel, what do you think?
I think it's too early to tell. I think if the economy implodes, if we're in a recession, if Americans do realize, my God, we're in deep trouble, yeah, the Democrats will win. But if by some miracle, Trump plays games and he's a good showman, he may cut a deal that's not so great, but he'll come out and say it is the greatest thing in the world. So I don't know, because we are so at the mercy of his autocratic pronouncements, and you don't know what's going to happen. If by some chance the economy is well and we're doing better, no, the Republicans will win. But if not, Democrats. That's all I can say. Too soon to tell.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. One last thing. Back in 2016.
Yeah, Bill.
Yeah, I want to challenge Huel just a bit on this. I think that unless something dramatically changes, the Democrats are likely to win the House. I think the Senate is really an uphill battle. I think that's probably not going to happen. But they would win the House unless Huel's suggestion about what could happen if the country really goes in the toilet, then I think that they stand a chance of winning the Senate. Yeah. But I think that if you look at the trends over modern time, the party that has the White House usually takes a hit in the House, and they've got a razor edge, skinny margin there. Anyhow, I think it's likely that unless the Democrats implode, we've been known to do that from time to time.
Thank you.
But unless we implode, I think that they're likely to win. That's why I want to get away from this monolithic, all the Democrats who run have got to be the same.
Yes.
We've got to get Democrats who can win their seat that they're running for.
That's the key. You got to win first. Win, and then.
Right. That's Mitch McConnell's, whole thing was you got to win before you can do anything. And
that's it.
He's absolutely correct.
Yep.
Where are we?
All right.
If lastly, the Canadian elections don't tell us anything, it should
26
be that we should absolutely win.
square feet more office space in downtown Detroit. Well, in 2019, we were at about 12.6%, and now we're at 19.7% vacancy. What's on in Detroit, and other than for being wrong?
Fishman.
It's pretty obvious to me, being in the Ford building, there just aren't that many people that come downtown to work. It's pure and simple. The Caucus Club and the Chop House are not open for lunch. I mean, that tells you that the professional class, the lawyers, the whatever medical people, they're just not coming to work. My son works at Miller Canfield, and he likes to come to the office every day, and he does. But he says there are a decent number of people that, unless they're required, like what Gilbert, I guess, was going to do to his people eventually, there just aren't enough people. I don't think there's any mystery to it. I was surprised they made such a big deal about it. All they got to do is come downtown like we do.
But look at the same's true in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
I believe
the last office that I had, I told the guy, give me a discount on the rent. I may stay, but I can't get people to come into the office. People don't want to come into work, and I don't need as much space. And 3/4 of my floor was empty, and it's still true.
Everywhere.
The old office the other day, 3/4 of that floor is still empty. About half the building's empty. I agree with Steve. That's what's going on downtown, but it's also going on in the suburbs.
Absolutely.
People are working from home more and more. Absolutely. They don't want to come in unless they're forced to, and they just don't. We don't have the need for office space that we used to have.
So let me say one thing that I learned We were visiting our daughter who works at a big law firm in Chicago, and they had a little birthday party or no, an engagement party at a bar. And I got to talking to some of the younger people. And we started to discuss that subject, Bill, about it didn't matter where. Chicago's got the same thing going on. These two young people said that they live outside the city. And by working from home, it saves them literally, unless they want to leave at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning and only work till 2 o'clock. It saves them 3 hours.
Yes,
of
course.
Of driving, rather, when they can't work. A lot of the firms.
We were having, Joni and I had dinner with some folks the other night, and I'm asking this young woman who I'd met for the first time, what do you do? I'm an attorney. Oh, yeah, who are you with? She's with a Chicago law firm in their Chicago office, and she lives in Detroit.
Yep.
It's a very common phenomenon now. You don't need the space. You're not getting the benefit from it either. I mean, look, I think there's some drawbacks to not being in an office space and having interaction with peers.
The saying was always, if you want people to be productive, leave them at home. If you need them to be creative, bring them into the office, because
good one.
That's just the way it is. So
you've got colonies of young people in Mexico from America who are working for different companies. They're all hanging out and partying, and they have their laptops. So I was going to say, in 2020, in February, I was in the Ford building. We had 3 offices, and they were pushing us to sign a lease. So I did 1 month before COVID. And then we didn't occupy the office for months. And I was like, how do I get out of this? And they came back to me and said they didn't like one of the caveats in the contract, which said if we go out of business, we only have to pay 2 more months of rent. And they said, no, we don't like that. So they said, you have to sign a new lease. And I said, well, guess what?
Guess what? I'm not doing it.
Yeah, fuck you. So we got rid of 2 offices. Nobody wanted to come in except me. I signed a month. I went month to month until
the cat is out of the bag. I mean, we're not going back. I do feel bad for younger people though, because it's a whole different way of working when you're working in your spare bedroom or home office, and you don't have mentorship. At least your mentorship isn't as pronounced. There's I wouldn't know how to tell a young person how to get into the business anymore, but we're not going back. As long as all the jobs are in cities, and as long as the cities keep getting bigger and denser, and as long as the cities, like particularly in Southeast Michigan, refuse to do anything about mass transit, we're going to end up, it's going to be 3 hours on the road, like Steve said. And if those are billable hours, you're crazy not to let people work at home.
Saeed, what's the song here? We're not going to take it.
You mean by Twisted Sister? Yes, I believe that's the song.
One of the problems, though, and I have a lot of friends, a lot of graphic designers now are working from home. There are no hours anymore because everybody is working remote. So you used to have a job and you'd go to work and you turn on your computer at 9 o'clock and you would turn it off at 4 or 5. Now you're getting work at 9 o'clock at night. You're getting work at 3 in the morning, and it never ends. And it's burning a lot of people out. I think it's hurting them socially.
Yep.
People don't know how to be anymore. People don't know how to put on clothes and go out in public anymore.
Yep.
And I really think that's kind of a long-term bad idea. And as a union person, I think that your time off, it should be sacred. And
it's not about COVID. COVID changed everything.
Yeah.
COVID changed everything. Right. But that doesn't mean people should work around the clock. This is my problem, you all. That's the problem. Is people are working around the clock.
Both of my sons work remote. My youngest son works for Kia Automotive in Irvine, California.
Yeah.
But he is connected to sites and dealerships all over the country. But he works from his apartment.
Right.
And
all the time.
When he came here for the Christmas holidays, he was working
all the time. All the time. Yeah. There's no more time off. There's no more vacation. There is work. That's what you have is work all the time. And I think, I think that's a long-term problem.
Yeah.
We have to figure something out. And we're building skyscrapers in downtown Detroit.
Yesterday, 2 days ago, I gave an interview to a Malaysian media outlet. And so she said, oh, well, enjoy tomorrow off. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, it's May Day. I'm like, Not in America. It's not a day off. We're all Protestants here.
And then one more
anyway, yeah, go ahead, Huel.
They were building skyscrapers. They started the process back in 2018 when there was an estimated deficit in the office space that would be available. Yeah. They were wrong, but at the time they thought we were right. They were right until COVID.
Stop that thing. It's the ugliest building too. I'm just going to throw that out there. Boy, that building.
Which one, Barb?
Good God, the Hudson. The new one, the Hudson.
Oh, okay.
The Hudson. The Hudson.
Unnecessary as a department store.
GM is moving into the Hudson's building. They're only moving in a fraction of their workers. Really, GM's headquarters is at the Warren Tech Center. That's where thousands and thousands of workers are. That's where Mary Barr is a lot of the time, talking with the designers. She does interviews out of there. The whole thing is to have a Detroit address, which for a while, pre-pandemic, there were like a lot of law firms and stuff out in the burbs who wanted a Detroit address, who were getting one office downtown, and the space was really coveted. And that's the reason I had signed a lease the month before COVID, because it was such coveted space at the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, the one thing that the RenCen doesn't have, Alan, that the Tech Center has across from it, Value City. So that explains why Mary Barr spends most of her time in Warren. Why don't we go to our last segment now?
Downtown Detroit, Robert Wells, Smart of the Week.
All right, plenty to choose from today. Fish.
I have two. One is kind of a little in passing. It's a guy by the name of John Halliburton, who happens to be the father of Tyrese Halliburton, the great guard from the Indiana Pacers, who somehow thought it was a great idea after they beat the Bucks in the series that he should charge out onto the floor and confront the Greek Atamplempo, who's only the third or fourth best player in the world, that's all, and poke his finger at him and wave a towel at him. And he was lucky that the Greek Freak didn't just do something back to him. And the Greek Freak handled it fantastic. But that's my tiny schmuck of the week. My real schmuck of the week, though, is Pam Bondi. I don't know what you guys were talking about before.
Oh, man.
I believe she's the worst of all of the cases. She's worse than Hegseth. What she's done and the things that she says as the Attorney General of the United States are literally scarier than anything I hear from anybody else. And she's dumb as a fucking post in addition. But she's my schmuck of the week for some of the stuff that she's been talking about, and talking about that the Attorney General's office is there to represent the president. I mean, when did that happen?
Yeah.
Sometime more than 76 years ago, because it's never happened in my lifetime. Anyway, that's my other schmuck of the week.
I can see Steve right now walking up to every post that he sees going, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have compared you guys to Bondi. She's worse than me.
Huel.
Just the obvious, the entire Trump administration, top to bottom, not just one, but all of the people who bend the knee and kiss his, just to have power, and the backroom deals. We have a mobster. Bill, you're right. We have a mobster in office, and we have his goons doing his work for him. So all of them need to go or somehow see the light. I don't know when or how, but maybe they should listen to us. Maybe they'll understand.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope they're not listening to us. I'm planning on going to Portugal on Monday. My wife would like me to get back into the country.
Exactly.
How much back?
The big concern is if they listen to this.
Bill, if that doesn't work out, you might want to try house sitting for a Hamtramck city councilman.
Yeah. I said, look, as long as they're going to send me back to Portugal, as long as they don't send me to El Salvador, who cares?
All right. Barb.
All right. Out of the huge array of choices, I'm going today with Stephen Miller, who said that the public schools promote communist ideology. And he said that, quote, and for any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves and their country. They will be taught to love America.
They will be taught.
They will be taught. So Pee Wee German here cannot stop. And his face becomes even more repellent and ugly. Yeah. I sent a couple of you a picture of him smiling, still creepy. He's so creepy in every way. So yeah, Pee Wee German's my my schmuck this week.
Good one.
Good one. Joel.
I'm going to have two. One, Elon Musk for completely destroying his brand. Congratulations, you're a complete schmuck. Tesla will never recover from Musk. That brand is gone.
Yeah. Good.
It's going to die. Europe hates him. Americans now hate him. He has destroyed Tesla, and I just read that in Sweden, the sales are down 81%. And I am thrilled that Musk is getting hit.
And they make so that tells
my other one is really Trump for saying this. We were talking about tariffs and little girls not having dowels. He said instead of getting 30, they'll get 2. And it's like, what fucking world do you live in? Some kids don't get 1. Some kids don't get a gift. What, how out of touch are you?
Yes.
Which is exceptionally, but to make such an insensitive statement. And my question, I guess, is when mothers of children hear that, do they feel anything? That this guy's so insensitive and so detached? Do the mothers of children say, Jesus, I can barely scrape by to get my kid anything. I want to have a meal for breakfast. Or for Christmas, I want there to be gifts. I just wonder if they think this guy's such an insensitive ass, or he's right. We'll take less. We don't care. And
he can't even say groceries. He doesn't even know what groceries are.
Beautiful word.
Well, when you eat McDonald's for every meal, I don't think you need groceries, Barb. And two dolls instead of 30. I mean, having to make do.
Did you?
Last one is I understand that the administration is going to cut $1 billion from mental health for school children. That is insane. Yeah. We have mass shootings. These kids are growing up with trauma that we never grew up in, and they need mental health help, especially at schools. And to cut that benefit while touting that it's not guns that kill people, it's people that use them, and we need better mental health. To take this away is asinine and exceptionally dangerous, and children who need services and help are not going to get it.
Cutting mental health is insane. Did you see the New York
Post headline about the doll comment?
That was hilarious.
That was great. Skimp on the Barbie. So
yes. Skimp on the Barbie.
Right.
Well, I mean, actually, though, to put it even more, I mean, the death of David Johansen a few weeks ago, the ultimate New York doll. Anyway, Nancy.
Okay, I'm going to hold a pen so that I look extra smart here. John Phelan is the Secretary of the Navy, and he went to Hawaii earlier this week. And of course, anytime a Secretary of the Navy goes to Hawaii, he needs to stop at the USS Arizona Memorial and pay his respects, which he did. And there was a tweet posted, it was a tweet of him standing there talking about how much he was honored by the sacrifice of those soldiers and sailors who died on the attack on Pearl Harbor on June 7th, 1941. And of course,
what?
Yes, June 7th, 1941. So we assume that the Secretary of the Navy probably does not write his own tweets. And so his press person, Christina Wong, hired from Breitbart, had to fall on her sword and take the punishment for that, because, of course, the attack on Pearl Harbor was December 7th, 1941. But she's just a young woman, and she probably wouldn't know that. So that's how that happened. So for the two of them, because I think there's still a good chance that Mr. Phelan himself got that one wrong, let's give... Oh, look at that! I got balloons! Let's give both of them Schmuck of the Week. So.
All right. Bill.
Yeah, I mean, certainly J.D. Vance deserves at least an honorable mention for asking who these judges think they are for trying to control what the administration does. But I think my favorite this week has got to go to one of everybody's favorite congresspeople, Marjorie Taylor Greene,
of course,
who indicated that the Catholic bishops apparently are controlled by Satan.
Okay. Oh,
I mean,
I don't think she's wrong.
She began this attack literally hours before the Pope died by saying, quote, "Today there are major shifts in global leadership. Evil is being defeated by the hand of God."
Right.
Oh, God.
And people assume that she was talking about the fact that the Pope was going to be replaced. But when she was in response to that, she said, I want to make this very clear. When I say, quote, when I say that the Catholic Church is controlled by Satan, I'm talking about the bishops.
Wow.
This woman is a pip.
Just by the way, Bill, the same person who was able to shoehorn a provision in the anti-Semitism bill that's in front of Congress right now that will exempt somebody from being accused of anti-Semitism if they say, particularly from the pulpit, that the Jews killed Jesus Christ.
Get them
and
out of here.
And Senator Schumer and the Democratic leadership are voting for this bill with the Republicans.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Hell.
Wait. Last.
That was a nice production work.
I'm pretty sure that qualifies as being a Shonda. But anyway, Alan.
I've got two. I'm going to make it quick. Ed Martin, the interim U.S. attorney in D.C., who has fired prosecutors who worked on January 6th, who's an election denier, who's just a total stooge, has never done a civil case in court, a criminal case in court. He's got to get confirmed this month or they shove him out, and he's got opposition on the Republican side. And the other person is Christine Beattie, Kwame Kilpatrick's chief of staff, who owes $78,000 from her criminal case, hasn't paid a dime in 10 years, works for Thaw, which is headed by somebody who is running for mayor.
Santiago Jenkins.
Making $109,000. She's making $109,000 a year. And I say, even if she were to give like $100 a month, which is like $1,200 a year, or even if she gave $500 last year to make some acknowledgement, but I feel like she's still trying to screw the city. So,
all right.
As opposed to the mayor. I'm sorry.
Yeah. A lot of it.
All right. Well, my little schmuck of the week, I think, is also a reflection of his diminution in size, and that is Senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, who tweeted, I was excited to hear that President Trump is open to the idea of being the next pope. This would truly be a dark horse candidate, but I would ask the papal conclave and Catholic faithful to keep an open mind about this possibility. The first pope U.S. president combination has many upsides. Watching for white smoke. Trump 2025.
Oh my God.
But my uber schmuck for the week has to be Michigan House Speaker Matt Hall for the comments that he made against House Representative Mai Zhang from Warren, who objected to the idea that the speaker was canceling a legislative session on Tuesday just so that he could be standing by President Trump at his 100-day rally. To this critique, Speaker Hall said, quote, "We have this very low IQ representative named Mai Zhang, probably one of the dumbest ones in the legislature. And I saw this video of her, and she's like, the House Speaker is not here today. We need to have session, you know? We need to work for the people of Michigan, Macomb County." Hall said, well, where was I? While she was doing nothing for her country and for her district. Kind of hard because she canceled the legislative session. I was in Macomb County, right near her district, delivering a new mission with President Trump for Selfridge Air Force Base. So I hope she thanks me. That would be nice. Wouldn't it be nice if Mai Zhang made a video thanking me because she's not doing anything anyway? I mean, essentially using Trump Chat GPT talking points to go ahead and impugning a representative. So for being just as schmucky as you can possibly be, Speaker Matt Hall, you're my schmuck of the week.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the conclusion of this week's The Week That Was. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Joel Sklar. Thank you, Bill Seikaly. Thank you, Steve Fishman. Thank you, Barb Ingalls. Thank you, Huel Perkins. Thank you, Nancy Derringer. And thank you, with the last word always, Allan Lengel.
Drive home safely.
Have a great week, everybody. Take care. And the fish is